Back to V4. We've had our Polish contingency already represent themselves well within this union. We now get our Czech Republic team, or at least our predominant core from the Czech Republic, as we get E-Rivals, formerly known as, I think, Easy for Me.
Yes.
It wasn't that easy for you, Jacob, but it was easy for me. And we're joined by Drowlin, who's our local on the desk.
Yes, indeed.
You still live here.
Yeah, I do. It's a nice neighborhood. Grew accustomed to it in the past 10 years, so might as well stay.
Yeah, showed me around last year. It's a good time. I think I walked like the entire city. It was lovely.
Always about you, huh? Always about you.
Let's walk. It was a segue, Jacob. You have to stop doing that or we will get you removed by security eventually.
Sure.
Let's walk through this game. Mouse Sports, the favorites. What chances do E-Rivals have at all?
Realistically speaking,
I'll just get right to it.
Realistically speaking, there should be no chances whatsoever. I think the best outcome you can hope for is a close game, a competitive game. I'd like to see them be able to contest Mouse Sports in some of the areas. I'd like to see them being just a little bit pressured. But realistically speaking, Mouse Sports is at least for me, the favorite to win the entire thing. And in a best of three scenario against a team that is barely a team, right? They're more like a mixed team, just put together. I think they should be able to convincingly win this 1-2-0. But never say never, right? There's this X factor that you can't really prepare for that. And that must be the only thing that Mouse Sports is a little bit afraid of.
Right. I mean, on the E-Rivals side, you have a very strange constellation of players. Obviously, you had 3 Czech players at the core, which was the requirement in order for them to come to the qualifiers. You have an Irish player in the form of Connor, and then you have Juho, a Finnish player. So all of this coming together comes to show that what we are really speaking of here are just 5 players, coming together, having some fun, not really expecting anything out of the event, just, having a good time.
Yeah, and getting the hardest possible start. Remember Mouse Sports as well, coming off the major, heartbreaking loss against Liquid, deciding matchup if they were going to make it through. Looked at some stages like they actually would in that matchup. I do want to focus on Juho a little bit.
Sure.
He, and not to confuse anyone, he and Devil's not the same name as people would know from LDLC, but Juho is a name people will know from ENTS, the first iteration in 2016, before Alu left again to go to FaZe and things kind of didn't work out.
Yeah, and I was asking Natu a little bit about it now that we have a Finland expert here, that Juho is a guy that has always had a decent amount of mechanical skill. He's always been a decent player. I even remember when I was playing back then in the Danish scene that we were practicing against some of these Finnish guys, and they were also good individually skilled, right? So he has that going for him. He's never really found a way to break through when in the Finnish scene. Why that is, I don't know. I don't know the guy personally. There may be some attitude problems, and there may be some other factors that is a deciding factor in that sense. But he seems from the outside to be a decent player, but again, not more than just a decent player.
Right, and also on the E-Rivals side, you have Devil, who was here last year with X-Status, obviously the player to watch, handling the AWP like a champ. He made waves against Mouse Sports and Virtus Pro last year. Obviously, Virtus Pro was a lot different back then. They had these big names on it. So he is certainly a player to watch, as well as Connor, who also showed up in the qualifier. He is the Irish player, of course. If you are following the UK scene, you might know him from teams such as Excel or Reason. So they need these 3 players to really pop off in order for them to get anything going on the server.
Yeah, and there's 3 maps to their name as a core. That was in the qualifiers, like you said. This is 5 guys basically thrown together to have some fun at this event. It's cool that they've got a guy like Juho and Devil, who has a similar name to LDLC. But again, you're going against Mouse Sports. For Mouse Sports, how do you even approach this? I'm sure you've not counter-stratted. I'm sure you've not looked at it. You're just going to go in and play your game, right?
I just talked to Regin, the coach, and he was like, yeah, we obviously respect them in the sense that we have to respect anyone we're playing by joining the server, obviously, and taking the match. But apart from that, putting in more into that is probably not a good idea, as you said. Anti-stratting, there's nothing to anti-strat, basically. It's all about playing your own game, all about activating your own strengths to the roster. And when you have guys like Voxic, Chris J, Kerrigan for that matter, they're going to have a good time. They're going to have a fun time. And hopefully, I wouldn't say let loose and play unserious Counter-Strike, but to some extent, just play Counter-Strike while it's fun.
Drellin, that's kind of where I was going to go with this, because if you're playing against a team that hasn't played a lot, you can't counter-strat them, as Jacob says. They're going to be a little bit random. You almost have to be more disciplined as a player not to get caught out by the unexpectedness of a pug.
Yeah, you definitely need to provide them that form of respect, because the silver lining here for E-Rivals, and we saw this happen at the major, is that sometimes Mouse Sports have this one map every now and then where just things fall apart from them. The young stars don't really show up. And if that happens here, it has to happen at least 2 times in the best of 3. But that is just one angle where E-Rivals could like go in there, get these young fraggers on the server, and maybe there you can get some kind of win going on. But even so, it just doesn't really seem very viable.
I agree. The initial approach by mousesports should be the fact that you go in there with respect, right? We try to take it serious. But if you feel after the first 5 or 6 rounds you're up 5-0, up 6-0, you can calm down, you can let loose, and you can have fun with it. You have a guy like Voxic on your team. You even see him run around, and do ridiculous stuff against some of the best in the world. Of course, he's going to do it against the mixed team here as well. Same goes on for Kerrigan. He's so serious, so structured, and so disciplined in the way that he plays pretty much 24/7. So if he has a chance of actually letting loose just a little bit on lane, he will take that chance and have fun.
And I wasn't going to suggest even for a moment that if they did decide to let loose, they'll get caught off and things will fall apart. Obviously, if you look at all 5 players on the server on either team, I put all of the skill on the mouse sports side. That's been proven time and time again. There's so much skill in these 5 players. Rops, Frozen, walks with the young guys. Chris J's been consistent for years. Kerrigan. All I'm saying is that if it starts to go wrong, it's not like you can adapt. You just have to play your game, right? So there is that off chance that maybe you run out thinking, I'll take this duel, and there's like 4 guys there with pistols being random.
Right. Well, overall, if you look at the mouse sports, and this is the toughest part, is that their map pool is so deep compared to someone like E-Rivals. Like Overpass is maybe the only map they don't really play, but they even perma-ban that. So no matter what, how you try to play this map veto as E-Rivals, you're just going to get to a map which, mouse sports have no qualms playing.
Yeah, well, mouse sports, to put it into perspective, as a top team playing against top competition, they have no map in which they are under a 50% win rate, except for Overpass, which they've only played twice, and they have not won at all. So the point is, as a top team, there's reason to believe they could make a run. They've got the depth.
They got the depth. Mouse sports is on a different level. I mean, when we talk mouse sports, when we look at this lineup, look at these players, it's a lineup that is by many expected to be one of the very best in the world. And by very best, I mean a top 5 contender, right? This is a lineup that has all the skill. They have the future ahead of them. They're so young. They have a great in-game leader, a guy that is known for bringing these youngsters together and actually make them work as a unit. So mouse sports in this particular matchups is not going to be that interesting, but it's going to be one of those scenarios where mouse sports is just going to run them over.
So Inferno, Dust2, and Train are the maps. Mouse sports got the opening pick. That means I was thinking maybe Vertigo. We saw the E-Rivals play it in the qualifier. Obviously, Mouse Sports has enjoyed playing that at the major. It was one of the talking points for them, but a little more standard for this map pool, Jacob.
I would say so. I mean, again, just by looking at the maps, looking at mouse sports, and looking by everything that goes into this game, there's nothing that suggests that they wouldn't win it, right? The only thing that can be dangerous for mouse sports is if they get off to a bad start and they, for whatever reason, get rattled a little bit. It is a young lineup. We talk about the inexperience all the time, but even that being said, I wouldn't say that necessarily is a weakness for mouse sports. I think we've seen plenty of times that against some of the very best teams in the world, they've gotten behind, they've been put down, and still they fought back. So if they can do that against some of the best in the world, surely they can do it against a mixed team that potentially is getting off to a good start.
Yeah, especially with an Inferno start. Like that is a map which heavily relies on proper utility usage. You got a double up on mouse ports, which you can position one guy on A, one guy on B, and just essentially locking the map down as CT. And I feel like Dust2 could be the only map where E-Rivals might have a chance because it lends itself to this puggy FPL play style. So for a mixed team, that's where you want to just bring the heat. That's where you want to secure those kills, secure that victory.
Yeah, and Dust2 is, so it was whispered in our ear, actually rather yelled in our ear. Just to be clear, Jacob was trying to talk and that's what was going on. I had it out of order because I was trying to remember it. So it is Dust2 first and E-Rivals picked that. So that actually is an interesting point because that might be their best chance based on the map that it is for inexperienced teams. Shall we call them that?
Yeah, are they a team?
I'm trying to be nice, all right?
Yeah.
Like, okay, pug, whatever.
Sure. I think like the talk you always have when you're talking Dust2 is that it is a map that is open, right? There's a lot of opportunities. You can, if you're on the T side, you basically control the pace, whatever you want to play slow, play fast. But when you're facing a team that is so much better individually than you, you'd have to catch them off guard somehow. And the only area of the map where you can't really retake or where you can't really fight back into it, despite you having that advantage of being so much better than your position, is towards the B bomb side. So you want to try to utilize that one. You want to try to go poke towards that. And it's something we have seen from mouse sports against some of the best teams. We saw it during the major as well, that sometimes Rups struggle a little bit towards that B-bomb side. So if you've seen that, if you're prepared, if you're the guys from that team, then surely there's a chance. But apart from that, I don't see any opportunities. I don't see anywhere where they would be able to rattle mouse sports out of it so much that it gets competitive.
I mean, look, the one thing going for E-Rivals here is that, I spoke with Connor before the event and he said, we don't really have any expectations going into this event. Obviously, an upset or two might be nice. It might mean that the team stays together after the event, maybe try some more. But in the end, it's like there's no pressure. Just have fun.
And that absolutely have fun. It's an opportunity. You get to play at a LAN. That's a lot of players that we know that play at even top levels online don't even get this opportunity. They don't even get this far. So for them to come out of the Czech region predominantly and make it through the qualifiers, that's exceptional in its own right. But as you say, an upset or two, it's possible. They potentially play against either Virtus.pro or Tricked. God forbid they beat mouse Sports here. But we know that motivation, that whole have fun aspect, sometimes can really roll in your favor.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, we will have to bang on that because, again, that is basically the only option they have. I mean, if you turn the tides towards it, right, you have an Irish player on the server as well. I don't think I've ever seen an Irish player on this level, at least not playing against a team like mouse Sports. There may be a few out there, and I may forget about some, but Neil is the only one that comes into mind, and he's a coach right now for Greyhound. So that's nice to see that we get a new country sort of entering, the top stage of Counter-Strike. So hopefully he can perform well, and there may be some Irish players out there that think, this is also for me.
Drowlin, you touched on something interesting. Does this team even stay together, though? The point of this project, they just thought, hey, let's see if we can qualify. What are the odds that they actually think, maybe we give this a go and see if we can develop?
I mean, it all depends on how well it goes on this server. Like, obviously, with a team like this, it's not like you got 5 different players from 5 different nationalities. You have that issue which is always in majority teams where the Czech players will start speaking in their own language after a while. Things get a bit hectic. So it all depends on how the communication is on the team. Can they play together well? Obviously, qualifiers went real well, but this is the real test, right? This is where the rounds will get real close, where you have to put in your best, and this will be the decider where I guess it all comes down to this.
It's nice to see the Czech have some more players as well. Obviously, we know Sticko has been there for a while. I was actually, again, this is going to be about me, Jacob. I was riding mountain bikes there, and there was a guy at the trail center in the middle of nowhere that was a big Counter-Strike fan. So they actually have some Counter-Strike behind them. Like, they've got some history. So it would be nice to see a team stick together. We've seen it in other nations. We just saw it in the major with the Serbian lineup, with Nico's cousin, with Hunter, with... we saw it with ENT, a team that for Finland didn't have a long time. We've seen it time and time again where teams progress and suddenly that region gets on the board. So this would be a nice, if they did stick together, I think nice for the Czech Republic region.
It's a very good point, right? Because you read role models, and I think, it's the same in Denmark. I think the reason why we have so many great Counter-Strike players is that we have a lot of role models who can teach them. We talked about Hunden before. He's a great role model in terms
Fetish
of...
as well.
Fetish as well. Glaive is the perfect example of how you go from being, he retired back in the days, right? I was playing with Glaive in Western Wolves. We were the second best team in the world at a certain point. Then he retired for a year and a half. People seem to forget that. He didn't play at all. He came back. He started from the bottom. He played for Copenhagen Wolves, I believe. Wasn't even a top 20 team in the world back then, top 15 maybe. Then he came into Astralis, and all of a sudden he basically made Astralis what they are today in terms of consistency and being the best in the world. So there's always a chance of getting back into it. And as said, as long as you have role models to look up to, as long as you have guys who can teach you stuff that you didn't know prior to playing with them, which is basically the same reason for why NA brought over so much European talent in the beginning. They needed to learn that and see where NA are now.
Right, talent's an operative word. They,
sure,
bailout pimp over there. Is all they could get for Team Liquid.
I saved Team Liquid, so yeah.
All right. Well, with that, gentlemen, I don't think I need to press you for predictions. I think I know where you both sit on this one.
I think mouse Sports is going to lose.
All right. He's a troll. His name's Jacob Vinicky. You can spam him on Twitter about that terrible prediction. But I do know where 2 other people sit in this room. It's Jay Kaplan and Tom Biz, who are over in the casting chairs. How you doing, gentlemen?
Doing great, doing great. Excited to get this game underway. Excited to hear how Negative Pimp can be the rest of today as well, because I know how he acts behind the scenes. He's a great guy. But anyways, yeah, this would be a good match. And we talked about, obviously, E-Rivals coming together as 5 for the Czech qualifier. Dust2 is probably the perfect map for them to go on to. Maybe not against mouse Sports 100%, but it's like the perfect map that they could be playing on with how their team stands.
Yeah, it's like you're weighing things up. It's like for like the Pugstar style team, then sure.
Yeah.
Like, okay, that's great. But the other side of things where it's like, hey, we're playing against one of the most individually skilled teams probably in the whole of Counter-Strike, that's where things are a little bit more problematic. Like, I stand by the fact that Rops is a robot that was just sent here to play Counter-Strike because that guy's aim is just unreal. You've then got Woxic and Chris J who can both up to like an incredibly high level. Mm-hmm. Can we just pan the camera down? This is our, just for anybody wondering, Pimp has just gone across the floor. That's part of his workout for today.
That is a hard, like, he's got a tough core if he can do that, and then he drops his phone.
Just so you know,
ruins it.
it's just gone into game as you walked away. So that is absolutely fantastic. But yeah, we are going to be into this one. It is going to be the pistol run right in towards the B site they go. Yet to actually clear the site itself as Rox was still waiting, but they have managed to get the initial pick. Is there going to be a quick way back in? Not for Chris. He jumps up to Spot, and Connor's already managed to pick him off. Frozen with his second kill of the round already. Facing off against some of his old teammates. Or at least one of them. Actually, this is looking all right for the CT side. Normally, these sort of retakes are impossible, but Frozen just going ham. 3 kills for him, Carrigan with the double, and already we are going to have a round on the board for Mouse Sports.
I know at the Dust they were talking about like Team Liquid, and of course you had Mouse Sports Team Liquid match at the Major for that final spot into the playoffs. And watching that back a couple days ago, you know, watching Frozen and how well he played, putting his foot really down on that CT side over towards Catwalk. I wonder if he's going to be able to maintain that same kind of performance, and well, with a shot like that, he probably will be over the course of today. I think in this matchup, Mouse Sports' biggest threat to lose is themselves, is them not giving necessarily respect to rivals, maybe underestimating them, and cause themselves to get, you know, careless. But I would hope that Carrigan is going to, you know, keep a strong hold on his team and keep them focused, because they are the team to beat this entire tournament.
Yeah, I would say as well, like the whole respect aspect, I think is always like overplayed. I don't necessarily think that if Mouse Sports like show absolutely no respect, it will make any difference whatsoever. Like in fact, you look at say like Old Fnatic. Old Fnatic used to show no respect to pretty much any team. Like you'd see them run down mid on Inferno just to try and get as many kills as possible. Like as long as you're feeling confident and you're hitting your shots, which is exactly what you'd expect Mouse Sports to do, I don't think they need to show any respect to E-Rivals. I think they should be able to win this anyway.
And I mean, considering E-Rival, like they've not really prepared. I was talking to their team, to Yuho, and he was saying, yeah, we haven't really practiced as a team. It's been pretty much just practice by yourselves, and we'll just see how it goes. I mean, if you have some great standout individual play, it's going to be great, but playing against one of the best teams in the world, I don't know how it's going to work out against a team like Mouse Sports. Obviously, time will tell. I'm sure of a lot of it today with 4 best-of-3s. And, well, Mouse Sports able to get a couple of quick kills here as they transition over towards the site. Frozen gets 2 as well. And Christian is going to flank in from behind for an easy finish.
Yeah, that really isn't a bad round, though, for E-Rivals. They managed to invest very small amounts. They drop 3 players. They are causing a huge amount of rebuys going into this next round, and now they come up with a 4 by themselves. So for E-Rivals, that was actually fantastic. And if they can get this round and get some momentum going, that's where this map could actually play into their hands, because Dust2 is a map where momentum is one of the biggest factors, especially on that T side. You get rolling, you just start getting maybe a little bit more confident in the picks you take, the peaks you take as well. The spawns in this map actually play a fairly big part, so who knows? But it's just like when you look at the players on the other side, man for man, pound for pound, Mouse Sports win by a long margin.
I personally also want to see Woxic on the Scout, being crowned one of the best Scout players on Dust2, especially CT side. I want to see how well he can do in the end with this. But I would imagine with the way this game's going, he won't be on the Scout for much longer. Probably going to be upgrading relatively soon. But Christian gets a nice kill and actually upgrades the ump to the AK and clears out B tunnels. So now they have the information, hey guys, they're probably over towards mid. We have not really peeked along in quite a bit of time, but we can generally guess the direction they're going to be. And there's actually going to be a fight breaking down. Chris J spots Connor on the rotate back towards the B site. Now down to a 4-on-4, and there's a scout shot. Speaking of Woxic, he hits 2, gets the bomb down, and that's what this man can do. How deadly he is with that weapon.
Yeah, it must be infuriating, and that's the thing. If they start to gain confidence, like re-peeking mid and doing like silly things, these are things that like E-Rivals, even if they were playing against a normal team, like they wouldn't do that. And it's very difficult to play against, especially when they're as successful. Like the first 2 kills that have come in for Mouse Sports are just off ridiculous levels of aggression and a little bit off with the push there. Carrigan going to be able to do a large amount of damage. Connor will at least be able to cross to the site. Nice shot onto Frozen, at least. That should be a bomb plant.
Wait, is his first name really McCool? McCool Connor? I am so jealous. Anyways.
Would it not be the other way around?
Connor McCool. I mean, that would make sense, but everyone else's names are the other way around. Okay, I'm jealous if that's actually his name. Oh, my God. Oh, his parents. Are you looking it up right now? All right, we'll get back to you on that one. Anyways, back into the round. 15 seconds left to go. A bomb has been planted. Woxic on the long rotate towards long A.
I think it's his surname.
And he hits a shot onto Devil. That's Connor by himself. Low on HP, and actually looks like they're going to win the round here. There's no time to defuse the bomb anymore, but Woxic wants the final kill. He tags up Connor. Connor will explode, as we see there in the last few seconds. So E-Rivals will take the round.
So this is probably the only time this will ever happen. We have Robin Cool versus Connor McCool. Like, that's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. But who's cooler, Cool or McCool?
Probably Frozen. That's still a great last name to have. I'm sorry. I'm still focused on the McCool aspect of it. All right,
I think Justin Savage is still the best.
That is
the best name in esports.
That is. I also heard was it Kaplan's a great last name too. I don't know.
Oh, see that guy from Overwatch?
Oh, you shut your mouth. You shut. No, he's a Call of Duty player. All right. Anyways, Euro was able to take a round. More importantly, we should focus on, because this is the team that's definitely going to be the underdogs in the situation. But I would imagine we're going to expect a very puggy style of them in general over the course of this best of 3 and their next one, potentially tomorrow. And I think there's obviously going to be some times where they're going to take some rounds, but if they can consistently get them, and I think more importantly on the CT side, how that's going to work for them against the organized mouse sports, we'll really see how things turn out.
Yeah, I think it's one thing like following calls of your in-game leader. It's another thing altogether to have your set positions correct, especially when you are just a mixed team. It's not even something you can really work on. It's just based maybe on a whim or off spawns or something like that. So we'll see how that goes. Early pick already for Chris J. Caught in the open, but Carrigan is actually going to get away with that. There's a couple of pistols in this round. Now, Frozen is definitely one of my players, or favorite players to watch with the Deagle. I've seen them do some crazy things with that gun, but already tagged within half HP. The smoke going to go down to allow them to cross towards this, but Chris is already going to get a second one. Woxic goes down. Chris just going ham. Gets 3 kills and leaves it up to his teammates to try and do the rest. And bear in mind, the Rops still have himself that AUG. He's going to be rotating in through CT, but it's Carrigan who's getting right up close. He catches one with that M4. Now it's left all onto one, and it's not going to happen. Mr. McCool is unable to do anything. Then it will be Mouse Sports to get their 3rd round on the board. As if he chose Connor. Like, I don't want to be rude, but why did he choose Connor over being called like McCool? Much better in-game name.
I mean, I can't really say anything, because if you knew my old alias, then you'd realize I have no room to talk.
Yeah.
Do you remember it?
No.
Good. I'm just going to say, a publisher made me change it because they didn't want me having that alias on their show.
Jesus. Well, if someone wants to go into the archives and find out what Jason's old nickname
I'm pretty
was.
sure there's people out there. I'm pretty sure. Anyways, 3-1 now for Mouse Sports. Great retake coming in. Chris J with a phenomenal 3K. And of course, Kerrigan coming in with his guns. But Ero is going to be back on the save. Some pistols invested into this. And I love this position on the Kerrigan too, just using the smoke to his advantage. If they do come through, he's going to have such a huge advantage here. Just going to be backing off towards Pit. And he's actually going to be all alone towards Pit. So with the pressure coming his way, he's going to have no support, no one to help him out here. Maybe the rotates can come in if he can stall for time. But I almost want to see Mouse Sports in their old position here of having a player towards long and Kerrigan tucked away towards the blue dumpster and just sitting on that box.
Chris actually goes down to a Glock. Like, if they can overwhelm Carrigan here, yeah, there's actually a good opportunity for them in this round. 3 players standing for Mouse Sports. A couple of weapons picked up. Woxic almost needs to win this duel and loses that one as well. Freddy's going to find him. Now it's left on the Frozen, but the spray down is ridiculous. 4 kills for him and just leaves it for Rops to clean up. They're looking like it was going to go the wrong way, and then, of course, wow, Frozen just wrecks him. You can see they almost lost that round, and Chris has just sat there smiling, just like, yeah, I know that was a load of rubbish. Like, we should have lost that round.
Yeah, I think if they didn't try to throw the bomb across and just committed to the cross themselves, they might have actually been what they needed, because he was able to get the spray down and catch them off guard. Fortunately, no utility for E-Rivals to use, but then again, E-Rivals was on pistols, so getting that far with just pistols against the guns out of Mouse Sports is something they can definitely be happy about. I mean, the economy out of Mouse Sports isn't really there at the moment either. So we could see if E-Rivals can win this round relatively cleanly, we could, potentially see like a 4-4 on the board, a 4-3 on the board.
Yeah, I'm actually looking forward to seeing Devil on the AWP as well. Like, I do remember him in that X-Stardust team. That was actually a team I really liked. Like, obviously, it had Frozen within it at the time, and once he moved on, it did take a big dip. I still remember he was in one of the ultimate predicaments where it was like he got to the ESCA MDL playoffs, and they changed the MDL rules where you had to be, I think, 16 to play. So if he won, he was not allowed to play Pro League because he wasn't old enough, and if he lost, he was no longer allowed to play MDL either because he was too young. So it's just like, well, what's the point then?
Luck for him, he's kept playing, kept practicing, and look where he is now. Push coming in. Mox is going to win the first one. Eventually get turned on by Connor, though. And you can see Freddy trying to get the high ground in the actual site. Spots the player towards CTs, and the smoke to his advantage, but he can't connect the shots. Chris J, he's going to be able to fire back. And now quickly back to a 4-on-2 in favor of Mouse Sports. Player back towards pit. Connor in sight. And Mouse Sports, 24 seconds left to go. Looking to finally push in towards the side. But Devil there, as you mentioned, want to see him on the AWP, able to get the first. Chris J does fall. Connor has the protection, except that smoke might provide some cover, or Frozen just running up from short. And look at that. We're going to see E-Rivals take the round, though not cleanly. And yes, Mouse Sports was on not much money left, but we could potentially now see 3 for E-Rivals if they can win the next. But I feel like you can't really commit to that or say that with confidence because we know how well Rops can play for everyone on Mouse Sports.
Yeah, but they got no money.
They're going to have a 1 AK at least.
Yeah, that is true. Like, we've seen what one rifle can do just a round ago with Frozen mowing down a whole team, but it's still one of those situations where, like, do they even invest into this? Like, their money's kind of dicey. They'll have pretty much as minimal the loss bonus can be. They're actually going to be taking a pause on the Mouse Sports side as well, because I think maybe this is just one of those moments where they go, okay, guys, this should be a kind of easy match. So if, you know, we could just, like, get off to a good start. This is also not one of those games where if it's really close, there may be the positive of you going, okay, we need to play better tomorrow. Or later in the day, I suppose, for them, it will be the upper bracket match at the end of the day. But if it goes badly wrong at the same time where it's very close, you might go, wow, we're really not as prepared for this tournament as we thought. And if they go into the match versus the Danes later in the day, they might not be feeling as confident.
Yeah, I wonder what the mentality is within the team for matches like this, like matches of, you know, quote unquote, not necessarily unknown players, but not rosters. Like, this isn't like an organized team they're up against. I can think of a certain player in particular at another FPS game who, you know, it doesn't matter if it's a scrim, doesn't matter who he's playing, he 100% takes each match as if it's his tournament life on the line. And I wonder if Mouse Sports is maybe the similar kind of way. But I guess you don't necessarily 100% need to if you have so many stars on your team and you're feeling confident. I mean, they've just played at the major, so they have a lot of recent experience. They haven't had a long period of time without any matches being played, and Blue, nice little double for them.
I think having fun with a match like this, though, can be good for your sort of just mental fortitude. Just like, okay, we had fun, we still won.
Yeah.
Makes things a little bit better for the day. They're actually doing very well in this round as well. Like, down to a 2 versus 2. Another tag coming in as well. Carrigan really wanting to try and get this gun out of Freddy's hands.
Well, it's the Scout Deagle combo, right? You hit with the Scout, hit with the Deagle. Once you both hit your shots, they're dead.
And actually, there's a Molotov onto the bomb as well. Smoke going to go down, which should now be the possibility to get the bomb through the smoke as well. It's going to be the catch, and now it's left all onto Devil. He's going to sneak up and manage to get himself the bomb. I like this. He's gone into the corner. I kind of hope he stays there, because if they then go looking for the bomb later on, then he's in a good position. But instead, they've fallen back. I like this from Mouse Sports. They're sort of burning down that clock. He now has to clear everything again, because he has absolutely no idea where these remaining players are. One is going to be Carrigan just waiting on the site. 15 seconds left on the clock. He's trying to just waste as much time as possible. And it's going to be Carrigan to hit the shot with the Deeg. They take the pause. They win a force buy. And now all the pressure's back on E-Rivals again.
And we talked about the potential for a 4-3 scoreline if E-Rivals could win the round prior cleanly. Doesn't work out for him this time. And Mouse Sports take another round to add to their repertoire, though their weaponry is still not great. They still have a Scout on Moxlick, though, again. Moxlick on a Scout is extremely deadly. They have an MP9 picked up for Frozen and a couple of M4s mixed in there. On the other side, though, again, just back to the pistols, though. Last time we saw E-Rivals do this, they're able to pick up quite a few kills, actually, and put it down to a, I guess, basically a one-on-one. They were able to kill off 4 players on the mouse sports side, and Frozen, sorry, it was Rops, they're actually the one to close out the round for them. I wonder how it's going to go, though, as you move into Inferno. Like, a Puggy style in Inferno isn't something you really ever talk about or ever hope to see.
I think that being this their map pick, I think that's basically their hope. Like, if they're going to have a chance, it's going to be on this map. On the next one, I don't expect them to stand a chance.
And then Train as a last?
We're not getting to Train.
Okay.
And even if we do, like, if Mousesports get the CT side start, it's then over. And even if they don't, they'll probably be able to grind it out in the end. So I will be very surprised if we see a third map in this series, but I'm open to it. Like, of course, it's not one of those things where you sit there wanting E-Rivals to fail. I think it's a very British thing as well to sort of support the underdog. And yeah, I'm a very small amount Irish, so I'd like to see Connor do well. And I'm an 8th Irish, so it basically doesn't even count. But yeah, I'd like to see him do well, especially with a name like that. But at the same time, I think if you're being realistic at all, you have to realize that this should just be Mousesports' game to dominate.
Yeah. No, I think most people out there are not under any sort of illusion when it comes to this match. Rob should have a fairly easy time here. Cleans up, though the pistols will potentially overwhelm him. The rotate's going to be coming in. Blue will be able to drop him and get the bomb down, but still a 2-on-2 left. It's going to be the player left. I think it's Devil. Over towards Mill. Actually could flank them and cause some disruption. You can see Woxic actually gets caught looking the wrong direction. The gig is up. Devil's going to back away in towards tunnels, which allows Frozen to push in, looking for the kill. He's going to turn around back towards tunnels, take down Devil, and Woxic comes in for the final blow. And Mousesports now going to be up to 6. But to be fair, a lot of these rounds have been fairly close.
Yeah, and again, that's another pistol round that they almost won. Like that's twice now where the first one, E-Rivals definitely should have won with just the pistols. And that second time, it's arguable. Like, it came down to a 2 versus 2, and they almost managed to get Frozen as he pushes through. Also, these sort of shots from the man in the middle later on, where Woxic just about turns around, like, either of those situations goes their way, and they can win that round. So, yeah, it's not looking as clean as you might expect from Mousesports, but they're still grinding out the rounds, and that's what really matters.
I think it also still has to make us realize that the 6-2 scoreline could quickly change as well, because Mousesports have been losing so many people. Again, no strong economy to buy up, consistently in losing rounds.
At the same time, I feel like those sort of rounds become demoralizing. Like, if you're E-Rivals and you're getting really close to these rounds, then you sort of like, you get it in your head. It's like, we could be in this situation, and instead we're in this. And then Mousesports start playing a little bit better because they're like, hey, we've started, like with Chris laughing when Frozen got that 4K. It's like, you know that round probably should have slipped away from you. So when it doesn't, you're like, well, if we can win rounds like that, then when we actually start playing to the level we can, they're screwed.
Do you think Mousesports is a team that plays down to other teams at all, or do you think they always play their own style and can kind of bring a consistent level? I wouldn't really say that. We've seen them trounce quite a lot of like lower teams, and then do even the same to like teams that are closer to their level as well. Like, they recently played I think it was the Malmo qualifier, and they had a best of 5 and they 3-0'd crazy. Like, they definitely can just run over teams. I think it just depends on the day, really. Like, sometimes you just don't see members of their roster show up, but when they do, you're screwed. Nice little push out of Connor. I think that Molotov might have been in the wrong position. Chris J gets caught out by Yuho. And now it's all on Rops by himself against 4, and I think he's just probably going to save the weapon, considering they have no money to really use. That we see the chase down coming in out of E-Rivals. Misada Yuho is going to be flanking back in towards T-Spawn. But again, it's not like they really have the money to chase this down and can afford to throw away a couple of weapons. Yeah, another round on the board. And it's almost identical situation. We got Rops saving a weapon, a little bit of extra cash. I am very disappointed that we're currently on a map of Dust2 and we have not yet seen Woxic with an AWP. Like, I think it's just based off how the financial game has gone so far for Mousesports, but it is infuriating. Like, you want to see him with his primary weapon in hand. And there's been quite a few times now where he's actually tagged someone with a scout, and you just think, well, if he had the weapon he'd normally have, this would be very easy for him. But
Connor doing pretty well. 10 kills currently in the server, only 1 behind Frozen, who has been leading the way. And now we sit there in another situation where money is as dicey as it gets for Mouse Sports. They've got an M4, pistols on the remaining players. Both teams have now been able to win rounds like this, or at least come very close. So who knows? Maybe Mouse Sports will take this away again. But I think if they continue to just win these rounds of 4 spies, then obviously rivals are going to be screwed, but it will just be one of the worst ways to lose a match ever, because you'll always be feeling like, oh, okay, if we won this buy round and then we just converted the following rounds, we could have actually had a chance in this one. And once again, of course, Frozen's got the opening kill with the CZ.
It's going to be smoked off. Again, Chris J gets a kill on a double, too. The Dink comes in onto blue, and hey, maybe Mouse Sports and E-Rivals should just play a pistol-only match at this rate. Because we're seeing so many great shots come through. Bomb down, Rops is able to push in towards tunnel. Connor again. It's his second of the round, up to 12. Thing is, like, even if you're E-Rivals here, even if you have been practicing as a team, you know, throughout the time from qualifying until now, I think this is still like a really important match and tournament for you, because ignoring the team aspect of it, of if you guys are going to stay a team after this, individually it gives you a chance to really show what you can do and really kind of stand out. If you can drop some big numbers against Mouse Sports, MIBR, NIP, even Tricked here, or Virtus Pro, then you can kind of get your name out there and maybe eventually move up the ranks a little bit further in some other teams and, you know, become a little bit more known. So I think E-Rivals, really important set of games for them today and tomorrow.
They're going to be pushing into the 1 rifle left, 20 seconds on the clock. Carrigan's now found another, and he's going to be picking off 1. He will go down eventually. Woxic trying to lurk his way through the smoke. He's got to be careful, because there is a man just waiting over on towards the car, and he decides against making the aggressive play. Will give a chance for Frozen to rotate over. I think he knows that there's a player at car, but unsure where exactly he's going to be, but that'll be the position given away. Nice shot from Woxic through the car to at least pick off 1 more. Now, he doesn't have a kit, so he has to get his move on now. 20 seconds on the clock, as he needs a full 10-second defusal without that kit and has to just get running into the side. And I think Freddy's played this perfectly. Just burn down the clock, make it so it's not possible for him to defuse the bomb, and, well, he's not even going to get the kill in the end. Great round.
Rescues the AWP, more importantly, too, to give back over to Devil to use. So 6-4. We're seeing E-Rivals close the gap. No pause coming in for either team here. But again, that was just a force-up out of Mouse Sports with just pistols. And they still brought it down to a 1v1 in the end. So, I mean, both teams are really just duking it out. It's more of a fist fight here than like an organized, well, fight. I think that's called MMA or UFC or boxing.
Yeah, that's what I think of when I think of Conor McGregor. I'm like, you know, he's always really organized with his fighting.
So blue, gonna be holding towards tunnels here.
Yeah, this is the first time we've actually seen Mouse Sports with a full eco on their hands as well. They've been so good at winning those 4 spies that this is the first situation where they haven't really been able to invest anything into the round. Loss bonus will be at a reasonable point going into the next one with 2,400 into their accounts, but it does mean that there's still probably not going to be an AWP unless Woxic can get a kill, because he'll need at least that extra $300 to even get it glass cannon. So I wouldn't mind that, to be honest, because it definitely seems like a piece missing. I do think going onto the T side, though, it's even more problematic, and that's pretty much as good as that can go. Nice cleanup for them. And already getting back to 6-5, and they're starting to have fun with this. And that's the thing, like, either way they're playing up against Mouse Sports. Even if they do, like, reasonably well, I don't think they're going to be too worried about going into the games tomorrow. Also, like, being that there's such a large prize pool for this event, I think even by qualifying, these guys have managed to win themselves some extra money just for being in the tournament.
Yeah,
so
10 grand.
10 grand for just making it through the qualifier. You get to come here and fight against some of the best teams. So if they can show themselves versus Mouse Sports, who knows, maybe they can take a map off the likes of VP, who definitely didn't look too good earlier in the day. I will be very surprised if they manage to take this home, but hey, they're 6-5 at the moment. We haven't seen the best out of Mouse Sports, that's for sure.
Yeah, I'd agree. I mean, they were just playing the best team in the world, or second best team in the world, or whatever you want to call it, Liquid, just a few weeks ago. Nice Nice shot at double. I think he's been hitting some great shots.
Yeah.
He's definitely been living up to it. He said he wanted to see him opping, and he's been doing a fantastic job so far. They've been able to take control of the B site. Well, I say that. And we'll see for how long is going to be the question, as it's going to be down to a 3-on-3 with Frozen ready to knock on this front door.
Yeah, these are the sort of retakes that you struggle with, though. The B site of this map, one of the most difficult to retake. And you can start to see now that mousesports really are taking this a little bit more seriously. We saw in the pistol round, they were far more aggressive with their attempted retake, and this time they're not even going to go for it. Just keeping their weaponry. They could drop a weapon or two over into the next round to at least continue with the buy, but hey, 6-6, scoreline equalized. E-Rivals starting to make things a little bit worrying, and yeah, if players like Devil and Connor can continue to cause this mousesports side so much trouble, who knows where this could go.
That's what I was saying before, though, like, with how, I mean, even though it was like a 6-2 or 6-3, a couple of rounds in a row for one team can obviously turn the tides. Like, with the economy game both teams had, with what they had to spend, neither team was extremely far ahead. Neither team was in a comfortable position to lose out rounds. And like you said, Devil keeps hitting shots like that. Playing consistent. Oh. I swear my cheeks always clench when I see shots like that with how close they actually are. Oh, in blue, there we go. Double up set up on the T side. Takes down Kerrigan, gives him the man advantage, drops the op back over. It's going to be given to Freddy this time. There's actually 3 players towards the B side of mousesports, so the A side's going to be completely wide open if they can deal with Woxic.
He's at least got a rifle there. Does manage one, but the spray goes wild for the second. He can't transition, and that leaves the A side completely open.
But they don't know it.
Yeah, they don't know. They have a player in lower tunnels. Now, they have been fairly good at taking over the B side, so I wouldn't be overly surprised if they tried to go back, especially now they've caught out Rops, who has had a very slow start to this game. Someone who's normally the reliable anchor of the site. Chris J. Oh, he wanted the AWP. Filthy shot, but ultimately that'll be the lead going back into E-Rivals' favor. And now we get to see what even do you purchase here if you're on the CT side. Because Rops has straight up bought into the round, which I wonder if that might be more of a tilt thing. Like, he doesn't really, he's not normally the player that you look at to get frustrated. He is normally cool, as his name suggests. But yeah, he's gone straight in with a rifle buy, even though he has the least amount of money on the squad.
Well, Wox is going to be saving for AWP in the next round. Currently at 3,100 in the scout. Again, I can't really count mousesports out if they have a scout for Woxic.
The only time he's saving money for an AWP is into the last round of the half.
You sound a little mad.
Yeah, I am. I want to see Woxic AWPing. He's a fantastic AWPer. I don't want to see him using the scout.
It still blows my mind, like, looking back at 2015, 14, when I was casting Counter-Strike more consistently, that Chris J is, like, no longer the main operator of the team because of how good he was back then. And for me, it's like hearing Kenny S isn't opting anymore.
He still is, like, he still brings it up, though. Like, I do think that this team has one of the deadliest double AWP setups in the whole world. Like, I think the potential for MIBR's double AWP setup as well is absolutely disgusting. Like, the fact that, well, KNG is basically considered a secondary AWPer, where in probably any other team he wouldn't be.
Main opper.
But here we go, double AWP setup. Like, we've gone from 0 AWPs for the whole half from mousesports to now getting 2 in.
Oh.
Auto sniper. In fact, 3 auto snipers have been purchased by the T side. This is what I like to see. They're going to be spamming down middle. A little bit of a connection onto Chris J, and not too far away of hitting somebody else down middle, but not really going to be too much damage done. They've got to be a little bit wary.
Well, I only saw one cross. There was no smoke, so they kind of assume there's got to be someone playing close to door.
Switch up as well. This is the difference, that they're finally going to do something on that CT side, which is Chris is now going to be the solo player, and they put Rops into mid instead. He'll get that opening pick, and I'm going to see the smoke set up to the box, just to give them that ability to cross onto short if they so desire.
You know, even though they've been able to trade or to get one kill, I feel like, or they've died with one player, that they haven't really gathered much information. Like, they know someone's in middle, and that's about it. They haven't really drawn out much utility towards the actual B site. They did get Chris J's smoke, yes. Haven't really taken much utility away from the A site. So the direction they're now going, they know they're going up against players who have a lot of utility to use to stall them for time. And speaking of time, there's not really much left here. So some Molotovs or some flashbangs can really put a hindrance on how they want to attack this. They're going to drop a player down, actually 2 players down towards CT spawn. Frozen's just going to adjust his position. Kerrigan's now fallen, and Frozen's got to be the backbone of the A site. He's going to fall Woxic with AWP. You wanted to see him. Well, he's got it towards the long A position. The bomb should be planted here.
A little bit of a dance of death, but this is why you want that AWP into his hands. But it's going to be Devil to put him down. Now left in a clutch, he had an opportunity to turn it into the 1v1, but they jump up. Rops hands him a kill, and now it's all left on to 1, and Chris J is there to close out the round. Oh no, what is up with Kerrigan? Does not look happy.
I mean, it's got to be hard to in-game lead against a team that's kind of like playing Puggy style against you. You know, a team that's not really organized like the teams you're used to playing. But also, 7-8 isn't probably what they expect to come into this match either, being one of the best teams in the world up against a team who just kind of come together for the qualifiers and managed to make their way through. And hey, they came out with a first half lead against you.
Yeah, and then, well, you have to feel that if he hits that first shot, he probably wins that.
Yeah.
I do wonder if Kerrigan's a little bit under the weather. It does look like he hasn't slept or something. A bit rough today.
I love Kerrigan. Such a nice guy.
Yeah. Well, he's normally such a happy guy as well. This doesn't seem like the norm from him.
Well, let's see, we're moving into our second half now, into the pistol round. E-Rivals on the CT side, and Mouse Sports on the Ts. Chris J just going to be running directly towards that B side as quick as he possibly can. Meantime, the rest of the players are going to be sitting out towards long. Blue's going to actually peek around the corner and spot them. Takes the head off Rups. And eventually going to lose his own. I almost wish to see him actually get that kill and then just back off and then kind of wait. But I guess he wanted more information to maybe pull in the rotates from his teammates if they needed it. But with him now dead, they've given up completely the A control. They have no one watching towards long.
This is a bit of a gamble coming out from this CT side, and they're going to gamble back, and this could be the problem. They've pushed aggressively through tunnels, and that might give them a little bit of false information. Kerrigan, there's no way he's going to expect Devil to be there, and he gets 2 kills. Should never have been able to get away with that. Chris needed to get that trade. Eventually it's there, but now the full defense is waiting on the site. Connor spots at least one of the players, yet to really go for any sort of rotation. They're just going to be waiting and watching. Freddy's almost playing a little bit of a bait role, and they still have the time, so they're actually going to go doubling back, but all the footsteps will be heard in middle. It's going to be known. Nice shot from Woxic, though. He's going to take the head off 1, and he's going to be able to cross, so the bomb will be planted, and they've turned this from a 2v4 into a 2v2.
So now the after plant situation. Freddy and Connor both coming in from the same direction from short, where Frozen will be waiting with that P250. He's playing up close to the smoke. So he's either going to have to push through with the help of the flashbang, which is exactly what he's going to do, and Woxic sets him up perfectly. Mouse Sports going to tie things up at 8 apiece.
That was so unnecessarily aggressive, but that flashbang was absolutely perfect. Gives Frozen the play that he needed. That is going to level up the scoreline, and now we see the purchase actually coming in. Don't really see too much of the MP5, but it is going to be in for Kerrigan in this round, and then the majority of other players sticking with the rifles. Deeks across the board on everybody except Connor. We are going to have what is an aggressive take of long. Frozen already getting that control completely. There was no real challenge. Instead, it's coming onto short in the form of Devil. And in fact, he's going to go pushing up mid. He's continuing this forward, making his way in behind the T side. If he continues this push, he may be able to catch the majority of them. Instead, it's actually going to be Freddy going down on short. But how far forward will Devil go? And this is where he's going to start gaining huge amounts of information for the majority of his team.
With Connor spotting at least one player towards long. I guess Devil's going to make his move. There's soon to be a player back towards T-spawn. That'll be Rops. Meantime, they've taken control of the site. Will they expect the player to be coming in from behind? And Woxic will spot him out and take him down. You just kind of wonder if timings were a little bit different. If he moved 5-10 seconds earlier, would they have been able to actually catch him off guard?
And also, I think Yuho's absolutely screwed here. He's got a player coming in from behind. There's still a couple of low players, but unfortunately for him, Woxic's just hitting everything with that scout. 3 kills for him. Still putting up fairly decent numbers considering we only actually saw him have an AWP once in the previous half to get 17 kills. It's kind of ridiculous. But now the lead taken back by Mouse Sports, and there really isn't the finances for eRivals to do anything about it. So this is where we should see Mouse Sports start to bolster that economy. Get the finances in, set themselves up for this T-side. As mentioned, this is a hugely momentum-based map, so the fact that Mouse Sports has got off to a strong start once again is a bit of a damning factor for eRivals. They're going straight up short. They're just going to bulk up, play this one together, try and not give any chance for individual battles where those pistols might have a bit more of a chance. There's still going to be 3 players here, though, for the CT side, so they do have to be a little bit careful. However, Carrigan looking to lead the charge himself.
Froze just like a walking turret there, but unfortunately he does lose his head. Again, something about eRivals and pistols. They seem to do better with them than they do with the weapons, with the rifles. Woxic and Kerrigan in a 2-on-3. They're still only against the pistols, though. And Will Kerrigan's had enough, I guess.
Yeah,
Gets himself the 4th.
Kill everyone. Yeah, 10-8. But this is where we actually get to see the purchase coming in for the CT side. Orp going to be straight in onto Devil, which was something that was a big factor within the last half. Definitely surprising to me that Rops is currently the one at the bottom of the board. Like,
yeah, he hasn't really had or needed to have really much impact in some of these rounds. I mean, I don't think they've really gone the direction or he's had the opportunity for much action.
well, he seemed like he was getting a little bit overwhelmed on the B site. That's a good start for Devil. Already starting things off with the pick onto Frozen, someone who's been a bit of a menace thus far in this game. Good to see how the T's are actually going to react to this. By the looks of it, it's going to be by taking some short control. Have Connor waiting within the site. In fact, if he goes down here, it could be a fairly problematic situation for this CT side as the closest players all the way out in long. Devil trying to regain a little bit of control into middle. And I'm glad that what I just saw wasn't actually shown on stream. Just tried to throw a flash into mid, just threw it into the wall and almost blinded himself.
I'm gonna put him on blast like that. Don't act like you've never done it. Little shot comes in, tags up. I believe that was Woxic. Some good damage. Devil is just hitting shots after shots. Of course, as I talk about, he's gonna miss the follow-up as Woxic's gonna drop him. 30 seconds left to go. There's gonna be a player left on the B site though. The Molotov's gonna come in and Kerrigan will come through doorways and send Blue out one. And looks like Mouseport should be able to get their 11th on the board, but we're gonna see the push come through. Almost wanted to see a save out of them, to be honest.
Yeah, I think now they may even have to make that call. They just don't have the utility available to them. It's a singular flash. There's no kit, and they're already a man down. I think in the 3v3, there's an argument to be made. Like, I think they probably knew that they already did a little bit of damage onto some of the remaining players of Mouse Sports. But the second you lose that pick to Woxic, as you try to cross back, that's where you've just got to duck out of the round. And we're not going to see too much of a hunt from the guys on Mouse Sports. A little bit of a searching peak coming out from Woxic, but ultimately their money isn't yet built up. And I think we have started to see Mouse Sports sort of almost do what their coach said within, like when we talked to him earlier, where it was like, okay, we have to show our opponents respect no matter who they are. And not over hunting, not over facing in some of these situations is the right call to make.
I think also the T side will favor them a lot more since they get to control the pace of the game against more of a puggy style, or they're the ones that have to react to it on the CT side. But yeah, they're definitely seem to be a lot more focused in this matchup now. Obviously, the winner out of groups goes straight to the semifinals, so important to win the first 2 matches if you can. Woxy going to take down Connor as he's trying to push in towards short. Leaves the A side a little bit defenseless here, as the only player to really be on the side is technically, I think that's Yuho over towards long A. I mean, you can see Mouse Sports, like they've left Chris J outside long multiple rounds now, like 2 in a row in fact. So they're really trying to prevent E-Rivals from doing this just random aggression around the map, trying to go for some early flanks, trying to catch him off guard.
Well, yeah, that's what they attempted in one of the other like force by pistol rounds, and it was mainly just down to, well, one of the players turning around at the right time to make sure they caught it. Nice shot, at least with this defense. They managed to get 2 kills. Blue taking names, but Rops will be there, and Carrigan as well. There've been a few closer rounds here. I have to give
a lot of
props,
close rounds, actually.
Yeah, I have to give props to E-Rival and their pistol game. It's just a shame that they've not really been able to win any of them. It's mostly just been like, okay, we brought it close, we got it down to like a couple of players, and then somebody on Mouse Sports like steps up to the table.
Yeah.
I'm liking the fact that we get the double AWP in though. They've been working the picks fairly well. They've been happy to take the fights versus Mouse Sports, so they're going to just take more of them, get more aggressive with their plays.
Look at that. They had a 3-man stack towards long. They left the B side completely open. Blue here to support Connor. And they're able to get the first. I mean, Connor does take down Chris J, but it's for the cost of his teammate's life. And Kerrigan, again, getting free reign over short. No one's watching the actual middle position. And Mousesport's back to the man advantage and should be able to get the bomb towards the A side here. There's only one person to defend. That's going to be Freddy. And Freddy's not even on the short position to help out, so...
Now, Carrigan's position's making this very, very difficult for them. They want to try and retake through short, or they did at least, and him just waiting over onto that angle, taking that control initially. And I think that's something we're seeing from Mouse Sports a lot more, is that there's more of a cause and effect. Like when one teammate does something, the other one is automatically doing something else to sort of play off of that. So note that there was the aggressive peek out from Frozen. The second Frozen gets that kill. Carrigan knows that they're going to be focused on long, so he goes running up short. And he knows that they've seen 2 players up there, so the chances are there's not going to be anybody watching that angle. Whereas when you see some of these plays coming out from E-Rivals, like you might expect somebody to be holding that angle when Connor's trying to fall back. And it's just like small things that maybe if they had like practiced or played more together, that you would have these sort of things in place.
Right. That's why I'm curious if they do have good performance, if they'll stay together as a team and try to give it, you know, a try or not. Good shot by Connor to open things up with, but yeah, as you mentioned, like Kerrigan was right there, and maybe Connor should have expected that. Maybe the lack of communication, maybe expected teammate to be watching the push in towards short.
I think there was someone underneath in CT as well,
Yeah,
so he should have heard the footsteps of Carrigan running. So again, that could just be down to communication, but a lot of these things are going to be a little bit more interesting, especially with a lot of the players on the team with English not even being their first language. And I know that at least in the past, like players like Devil played within his own scene rather than within a mixed team like this. Oh no. I think he was trying to spot something a little bit more, but instead, well, this is the problem. Like I said, the Rops was having a bit of a quiet game so far, but when he does step up to the plate, that's 2 entry kills into the B site, round done. You almost have to save if you're on the E-Rival side, and yeah, this is where things have definitely gone badly wrong. I said at the start of the game, like, when you're playing on the T side, a lot of the time as a newer team, you're sort of listening to your caller. Like someone will say, okay, this is what we're doing this round, and you can pretty much play off of that. Whereas on CT side as a mixed team, unless you just happen to have like the right players to play in the right positions. I still remember that sort of initial G2 roster that had like Scream on it and like Jacob, and when they played, there was a game on Cash where they're like 16-0 team, basically just because they couldn't get into B because if they faced off against Scream, they lost, and just all the individuals just happened to work out. But then later on, where teams played a little bit more strategic against them, they really seemed to struggle. And I think this is a sort of showing of that. It's like a team like mouz Sports is going to pick you apart, and you have to have something to fall back on. You have to have some synergy. And also, like I said, like rotations on this map, gambles on this map, they're always going to be very important. And so far, it just looks like every individual duel is going the way of mouz Sports.
Yeah, they definitely started to show up in the second half on this T side. They're going to be pushing directly in towards B with only one man to defend who's pretty blind. That's going to be Freddy to fall. And the bomb should be planted here momentarily. We should also see potentially now 15-8 on the scoreboard as Devil's going to be left with AWP and Connor with the M4. And they're both just going to be saving these weapons into the next round. Yeah, I mean, I understand, like, even potentially move into Inferno, I would imagine, like, the T side should be better for E-Rivals than the CT side when they come up against more organized play and the set strategies and the mid-call adaptations that Kerrigan can provide for mouz Sports. That's where they're really going to start to struggle and having to kind of think for themselves instead of playing as a unit and knowing what everyone's going to be doing.
The other thing as well is, like, just even, like, on this map, like, sometimes the CT side is all about the calls, which is not a lot of the time the case. Like, we've seen it from both teams where they'll send 3 players aggressively taking long, or we had mouz Sports sending 3 players into tunnels to try and aggressively take some portion of B. You can't cover the whole of Dust2 effectively, at least. Whereas when you get to Inferno, sure, rotations are still important, but utility usage becomes the prime nature of the game. And that's where mouz Sports not only then have their sort of like individual skill to hold on to a lot of the angles, but you also have like WOC6 rotational AWP, and you also just have the ability to sort of drop smokes and delay a lot of the pushes, whereas on this map, that's quite a bit more difficult to do. Either way, back to B it is. It's been so successful for them throughout this map so far. They're just going to leave Connor completely blind. The only defender, they gambled in the other direction. They said, of course, they're not going to go running into the B site again. But they did.
It ain't broke. Why fix it? Here, Tom. We see Yoho pushing with the flashbang, but he's pretty much pushing him by himself, though. Freddy and Devil able to chime in on the board and take things down to a 3-on-3. Again, Devil, he's 19 and 16. He's had some fantastic off shots throughout the course of this first match, but Chris J and Frozen much putting the final nail in the coffin. Blue left up against 3. And yeah, he's just going to be chased down by Chris J. So that's going to do it. mouz Sports take the first map 16-8. I think that's generally the scoreline or the result that we expected, though the story to get there, the path that was taken was a little bit interesting. Yeah. Though you have to give credit to E-Rival. Like, some of their rounds, if they went a little bit of a different way, if they were able to just close out those like pistol rounds they had or the eco rounds they had, we could have seen a drastically different scoreline, though I still think in the end of things, mouz Sports on the T side would have been able to close it out.
Well, that was the thing. Like, the T side from E-Rivals was not bad. Like, they managed to pick apart some of the players. I think Rops actually really struggled on the CT side B site, but then it got down to the T side of mouz Sports and they just got obliterated. Like, it looked more like a mixed team there, just like where they couldn't really work out what mouz Sports are doing. Yeah. The B side defense from E-Rivals was non-existent. Like, whenever Rops walked in there, he killed either 1 or 2 players. So it was just one of those things, and the T side of mouz Sports was way too strong for them.
And we've seen some like really good individual play. Again, just to point him out, not to beat a dead horse any more than I already have. Devil, like, his op play has been strong. If we can get him set up, maybe towards the B side on Inferno, on CT side, maybe he can put some sort of hold and some sort of stop on mouz Sports entering the site. But I definitely agree. When we move into Inferno, utility usage is going to be important, and obviously you need communication and practice to be able to use that effectively to maintain your utility usage over the course of a round. All right, so that's going to do it from us here on the desk. Let's head back to Sadakist on his desk and see what they have to say about that last map.
My desk, Jacob. You heard. You didn't even come dressed appropriately, just wearing a T-shirt now.
Did you hide my jacket or something? Couldn't find it.
Oh, yeah, but I'm sure you didn't forget or anything
I couldn't find it,
like that.
Yeah.
Speaking of forget, I think we forgot about that first half very quickly. 8-7 in favor of E-Rivals, and then 16-8 in the end.
Look, I mean, to be fair, if you look at that first half, I think it could be easily even a 10-5 half, because those rounds were, I mean, the whole game was a lot closer than the score would suggest. if you look at the first half, for example, like there were times where Mousesports was just bailed out by individual plays. You think about that time that Frozen sprayed down that A long rush, Kerrigan had a nice hold, and even the second pistol round where it was all came down to the heroics from Voxic, Frozen in order to get them into that spot. So it could have easily been like a 12-round lead for E-Rivals.
I'd agree. I think they played a good first half. They did everything we wanted them to do. Right? Came out with no respect, came out to have fun, and played at a relatively high level, I'd say. Mousesports, on the other hand, they didn't really get started. And you could see the frustration as well in some of those players in that first half. They felt pressured at a certain point, and that was exactly what we wanted to see from E-Rivals. That being said, though, while I do agree it looked a lot closer in the first half, when it got down to that second half, when it got down to, here's how we play it, this is Mousesports, when they fully function, then there was no doubt who were the better team, and it wasn't even close in that sense.
Just to go back to the first half, you mentioned if you push the B site, that's a harder place to hold. That was clearly a problem for Mousesports, and we saw the op as well from Devil. Good picks on entry multiple times.
See, that's a problem for Mousesports, right? Because not only is E-Rivals able to do that in a game where there's basically no pressure on Mousesports in that sense, but a lot of the good teams doing the major, doing the minor, and doing some of the bigger tournaments that Mousesports have been playing, they've been able to utilize this B-bomb side. Rups, haven't really found himself, fully functionally in there, and that's a problem. Not only in this game, obviously, now Dust2 is over, and we're not going to see these two teams play that anymore, but moving on in the tournament, that's something Mousesports needs to address when they're facing an MIBR, NIP, or for that matter, some of the other teams in this tournament.
I was surprised, actually, because Rups, I think, finished the first half with only 5 kills. I was actually starting to wonder where he was. Did show up in the second half, as did Mousesports. I kind of like your point about the pistol round going away, but ultimately Mousesports, once they got rolling, kind of ran with things. Yeah,
it just comes to show the depth of this Mousesports roster, because in the second half, what I think happened was you could clearly see that, all right, things are not working for E-Rivals, but there's nothing to fall back on, right? There's no default that they can go back on. No. And slowly, round after round, it just all fell apart for them.
And Dust2 is the kind of map where T-side you can run as a unit, take advantage of that, and then you really have to get your rotations on point. On the CT side, you've got to play for information. They weren't really getting that. You could see the opening picks not really going in their favor. And I think Mousesports, you mentioned it, frustration. Kerrigan showed it, but it goes to show you as well that a team that hits a reset at halftime, that can make a huge difference.
And it did make a huge difference. I think that the frustration is more down to the fact that they obviously would have liked to just close it out in the first half. They would like to go to a halftime, leading 10-5 or leading 12-3 and just feel no pressure whatsoever. But the fact that you're being put in a position where basically the only outcome that is possible from this matchup is that Mousesports wins, and anything else would be a huge disappointment. So the fact that they have to go through that, the fact that they even have to try a little harder, I think that's what's annoying for Mousesports. Not necessarily that they were afraid of losing, because let's be honest, that shouldn't be able to happen here.
No, and even when it was 6-6, they were still laughing and kind of being jovial amongst themselves. It wasn't until they were down like 8-6, 8-7 that they were like, okay, we thought we could laugh it off. That didn't really work. And when you lose a whole half, it's not just a couple of rounds at that point. It does start to get inside of your head a little bit. We switch focus. We go to Inferno. This is Mousesports' pick. Not quite the same map on the T side that you can run and gun, because we know how tight the choke point is over at B. A, top wall, a lot of information, quick peeks. I don't think they have the same chance on the E-Rivals side.
Yeah, I think Tom had a great point during the casting that on Inferno, there's not really a puggy play style. If you think back, for example, on the old Tyloo lineup, they had this very aggressive style, which took a lot of team off surprise. So that's a style which kind of worked back then. But then again, you're facing Kerrigan, and whatever you try this guy will figure it out after a while. He's been there, he's seen it all. You can't really catch him off guard. So going into this, I think there's 2 things E-Rivals need to focus on. You can just keep Mousesports' economy in check. Don't let them use utility. Don't let them get it 2 ops out. You always need to just constantly get their economy down.
Well, it's an execution-based map, and we can't expect E-Rivals to have that execution. And if they don't, that goes against them on both sides, surely.
Yeah, I think it's going to be super, super tough for them, let's be honest. Inferno is a map that we often see, teams having a great T-side on. You can often see a team string around, 7, 8, sometimes even 10 rounds in that T-side. But those are only good teams that are played well together, that have those executions, that know how to do a proper B execute with all the Molotovs, all the smokes, and everything into it. I think I speak to everyone out there in the Twitch chat as well. You probably tried it in matchmaking before, where you go in on a server, you get, loaded up on that T-side on Inferno, and you just run into a wall over and over again, because you don't have those those smokes down. You don't have the Molotovs down. You probably know it. I can see it on your face right there.
No,
anyway,
never.
I think that's what's going to happen here, right? E-Rivals, they don't have the proper executes, right? They may have, the ability to afford the Molotov. They can buy the smokes. They can buy the Repenny. But in terms of executing and breaking that wall that Mousesports is going to put up, I think that's going to be incredible hard. So I could easily see an 11-4, maybe even 12-3 half here for Mousesports.
And that, I think you flip it around, it goes the other way, because you're not going to see that execution from E-Rivals, but you will from Mousesports. Then you also put the timings of the CT being a new team together, and this one could be a lot more
You're starting
one-sided.
to paint a picture, huh?
Yeah. I don't have a brush, but if I would. You would not be in the picture if I painted it, though. I'd replace you with not to.
Wouldn't want to be there. So.
I mean, the one thing that E-Rivals does have going for them in this map is that, on Dust2, they had great rounds. Like, they realized that they can beat Mousesports. It's not as tough as they imagined. Sure, they lost in the end, but they managed to wound them in a sense. So they have that confidence in a way going into this map that, this might be possible.
Well, Devil's Ops certainly is going to be part of that. He can maybe open some space for them on the CT side. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll join in with the casters and get ready for map number 2. Inferno. That was Pimp. He threw me off. Inferno. We'll be right back.